Ever feel like you're just always tired? If you do, you are definitely not alone. It's a feeling that's become so normal for so many of us. But what if the real problem isn't just about how many hours you're sleeping? What if it's actually the anxiety we've all built up around sleep? Well, today we're going to dive into the myths that are fueling this whole cycle and, hopefully, find a much better path to rest.
Just look at the numbers. Surveys show that the average adult in the US feels tired 3 days a week. Think about that. That's almost half of our lives spent just feeling drained. And for a lot of people, the simple act of falling asleep has become a nightly struggle. But here's the twist. That constant exhaustion, it doesn't always come from just a lack of sleep. A huge, huge part of the problem is something called sleep anxiety. And it's this crazy vicious cycle where the more you worry about getting enough sleep, the harder it is to actually fall asleep.
So what exactly is sleep anxiety? You know the feeling. You're laying in bed, your mind is racing, and you're thinking, oh no, I have to get my 8 hours or tomorrow is going to be a total disaster. And that pressure, that very thought, is what makes sleep feel impossible. So today, we're going to dismantle that anxiety by debunking the very myths that feed it.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the myths about time and numbers. Then we'll tackle all those so-called quick fixes. And finally, we'll lay out a real path to getting some genuine rest, one that's free from all this anxiety. All right, first up, let's talk about the super rigid rules we've all made up about the clock. Honestly, these myths about timing and how much sleep you should get are probably the biggest source of our collective sleep anxiety. But before we can bust any myths, we have to talk about your circadian rhythm. Just think of it like your body's internal master clock. It's kind of like a biological conductor for an orchestra, timing everything, your hormones, your mood, your health. And this clock runs on a 24-hour cycle that's really, really sensitive to light.
Okay, this brings us to myth number 1, this idea that it doesn't matter when you sleep as long as you get enough hours in. Yeah, the science on this is crystal clear. That is completely wrong. When you sleep at weird hours, you are literally picking a fight with your own biology. And that disruption, it can jack up your stress hormones and weaken your immune system.
And if you want to see the real-world impact, look no further than this staggering statistic. 97% of night shift workers never ever fully adapt. Their biology is in this constant state of conflict, always whispering to them, hey, you should be asleep right now, even when they're right in the middle of their shift. Now, let's talk about the big one, myth number 2, the idea that every single person needs exactly 8 hours of sleep. This one number has probably caused more stress and anxiety than any other sleep rule. The reality is, healthy sleep falls into a huge range, anywhere from 6 to even 11 hours. An average is just that, an average. It's not the perfect number for you. So how much sleep do you really need? Instead of getting obsessed with a number, try asking yourself these questions instead. Did you wake up on your own this morning, or did your alarm have to brutally drag you out of bed? Do you absolutely need caffeine to feel like a person? Are you feeling kind of snappy or irritable? See, your body's signals are a way better guide than any number on a clock. And that leads us to myth number 3, this idea that your sleep needs are set in stone. They're not. Sleep is dynamic. I mean, just look at how our internal clock shifts throughout our lives. Teenagers, they're basically wired to be night owls. Then, as we move into adulthood, that shifts a bit earlier, and by our late 50s, a lot of us are back to being early birds. Your rhythm adapts because you adapt. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about shortcuts. We are obsessed with finding a quick fix for sleep, right? But are these modern solutions actually helping, or are they just making things worse? You knew this one was coming. Myth number 4, the idea that the blue light from our phones and screens is the ultimate sleep killer. I mean, this belief has spawned a whole industry of special glasses and screen filters. But the actual data tells a very different story. A major Harvard study had people stare at a bright Kindle for 4 hours before bed. And you know what they found? It only delayed sleep by an average of 10 minutes. I just love how the sleep expert Professor Russell Foster put it. He said the effect might be statistically significant, but it's biologically meaningless. So here's the real point. The anxiety and guilt you feel about reading on your screen are probably doing way more damage to your sleep than the light itself ever could.
And next up, myth number 5, this belief that your sleep app can tell you how well you slept. Look, we all love data, but this can create what's called a negative placebo effect. You might wake up feeling totally fine, but then you look at your phone and see a low readiness score, and all of a sudden you start believing you're tired. It's really telling that no major sleep federation endorses any of these apps.
So what about that supposed miracle supplement, melatonin? Well, that's myth number 6. A huge analysis found that it only helps people fall asleep, get this, about 7 minutes faster. 7! It's just not the magic bullet for everyday sleep that so many people think it is. Okay, so we've busted a ton of myths. Now what? Where do we go from here? Well, let's talk about the real path to rest. And it's all about making a shift, away from anxiety and control and toward understanding and trust. But first, let's just quickly put one last myth to bed. Myth number 7. The whole biohacker idea of polyphasic sleep, sleeping in little naps to get more waking hours. The data is clear. This is a terrible idea. When you fragment your sleep like that, it just leads to exhaustion, it kills your creativity, and your performance just tanks. The quality of your waking hours is so much more important than the quantity. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It really boils down to 3 simple things. First, listen to your body. Its signals are way more accurate than any app. Second, get to know your own natural rhythm and try to work with it, not against it. And third, this is the most important one, find some peace of mind. Let go of this quest for perfect sleep. It doesn't exist. In the end, maybe the best way to think about sleep is this. Rest isn't a competition you have to win, or some problem you have to solve with more data and more gadgets. It's a relationship. It's a relationship between you, your body, and your world. And just like any good relationship, it's going to thrive on trust and understanding, not anxiety and control.